now.
Yeah, other than the world burning, I guess I'm fine. I guess. How are you doing? What's happening on your end?
I'm good. I'm chilling. I think that this year, this cosmic season has been like the worst thing ever. And I'm like, wait, fun. Didn't think we were going to do all this, but all right. I guess
God,
we're here now. So it's
God,
just been a lot of like processing stuff and
Gaia is whooping our asses right
like moving through things.
Hold up. You're
Right.
Can you hear me?
A lot.
Hold up. You're breaking up on me. Let me see if I can fix this real quick. Motherfuck.
I know, I'm like, wait a minute.
Let me see. Let's attach it to, because my internet be acting up sometimes. I want to get this right. I want to do it right. All that I know. You good? Can you say hello for me? Hello?
Oh yeah, that's better.
Okay, perfect.
Yes. Is that better?
Yeah, it's a lot better. I had to connect to a different, internet. The internet be acting up.
Yeah, I feel that.
Let's start this meeting. Hi everyone. This is like episode 4 or 5 of Black.Queer.Alive season 2. And I am here with my really good friend, Miss Kimani Rose. Hi Kimani. Just a little context. Just a little context for everyone for listening. Kimani and I went to Mills College. We graduated this year, 2020, and Kimani is a excellent, wonderful poet that I really admire. I love all your work, Kimani.
Thank you. That's so nice.
And let's jump into it. I feel like we got a lot. We gonna get into it. We're gonna get into the juice.
Yeah.
Tell me about yourself. So we know your name, but if you want to add a little extra flair to that, it's cool. Name, age, and I say occupation right now, but I'm gonna replace that with desire. So name, age, desire, and pronouns.
Okay, well, my name is Kimani Rose. I'm 24. I guess my desire is to just be a creative and be a writer and be an artist and be an intentional one and like just focus on like healing and like what it means to really move through things through my work. I think I do that a lot in my work. It's just like processing a lot of different difficult emotions and like complicated things. So that's why I continue to do that.
Nice. If you feel comfortable, tell me what your gender expression is and how you sexually identify.
I would sexually identify as either bi or queer. I usually say queer because I think that besides the like rampant biphobia that's all around, it's just like easier, especially to like explain to people. I'm like, yeah, I'm just a queer, it's fine. And gender identity, I identify as a femme.
Yeah, I feel like it's weird when they have like those boxes, they're like check off your identity box and you're like woman, man, non-binary. They never have queer,
right.
femme. They do have trans sometimes, but it's weird to express. I'll usually put other and femme. What is like?
Yeah, I'm like, I'm a femme. Like, it's so obvious. I'm like, why are you asking me? You can see me. I'm a femme. Like, that's it. Like, I just.
What do you
give off a lot of femme and like you can tell.
What do you define as femme? Like, what is that for you?
In my own body, it just feels like passion. And it feels like, I don't know, like balance, like light. There's a lot of different, like, I don't know. I think I would just do it as balance because there's so many things that like go into what femininity could and couldn't be. I just think that like me as a femme is just like balanced because I don't know, I'm aggressive and I'm like whatever, I'm all these other masculine things, like masculine things and like bossy or whatever. I'm masculine in those ways. And then I'm also like visibly femme. And then I'm also like soft and I'm like a crybaby and I like do these other things and I write poetry and like it's like all very like mixture of things. So I'm like, I think balance is probably the best way to describe what femme is.
I like that. I like that. Can you tell us a little bit about your poetry? I've had the wonderful experience and privilege of seeing you develop this project for like the past 2 years. So if you want to tell us about like what you're working on and what it means to you, that would be awesome.
I think my main focus, I mean, is basically that project. I mean, I'm extending it and I want it to be much bigger than it is. And I kind of want it to be a bunch of different things. So I'm still deep in the realm of research with that project, which is exciting because I am doing a lot more historical research instead of like theological or biblical research than I was. And because my last, like that project, like the Maryland or whatever, it's very biblical. And I think that was a good start because it gave like the very like Genesis kind of base of things, but I also just think there's so many more things that I touched on that I can continue to like expose. So that's mostly what I'm working on is like trying to expose what those things are. And I want to like mostly actually I'm exploring right now. My research is based in kind of like the historical context of the crucifixions and like how the Romans did it, why they did it, and like how it was like a very normal form of punishment and torture that they did to people all the time, and like what exactly it involves. And that led me down like a path of, excuse me, sorry, led me down a path of like, what is the connection that like Jesus as a person has to sexual assault based on his relationship to the crucifixion, because that's such a heavy part of what it is during the crucifixions that the Romans would do to people. So it's very likely that like those things, you know, like if we look at things from a historical context, is a lot different than like what is taught to us. So I want to keep juxtaposing those things, but I want to go deeper into the historical side.
And just for like some background to people who are listening, you take biblical figures and you reimagine them in context to like divine masculine, divine feminine.
Yeah.
You like reinterpret biblical stories and characters, and you even bring in characters who like aren't traditionally talked about when talking about the Bible. So I remember a character that I really liked hearing from you, or like when you were like, this is going to be a Lilith poem in a workshop, I'd be like, yes, because we don't, you know, Lilith isn't something that we readily think of when thinking about Genesis, or think of when thinking about the Bible, but her feminine energy, her presence is very much there, especially like in contradiction or like in a dichotomy towards Eve.
Right.
And
Yeah, I think Lilith is one of my like favorite characters to explore, or was when I was working on this part of the book, because I was like really sad, and because of what was going on in the book, and I was really sad because each of these, I don't know, like the three main femme or women characters in this book were going through very separate but very similar things. And so I was trying to think about like a thing that would make the most sense, especially since it was all like the core of it was all like the same people. Like, I'm like, honestly, these people, these women would definitely find solace in each other at the end of the day, because they realize that they're not the issue here, and that it's not necessarily a part of their, like, they didn't deserve this in any way. So they support each other, and even though like they're all they all have made mistakes and do make mistakes within the world, and they've made mistakes and wronged each other, it's still like an air of like, this is all stemming from a place that needs to be healed.
Yeah, a structural, systematic type of way of participating in that inflicts pain
Right.
on the femme body.
Right, exactly. And like how that ultimately makes it so the femme or the woman or whichever or both are all constantly against each other, and like it would be very easy for me to write into Sadiqa, like the main woman or like the main mother god figure, for her to be upset at Lilith and Eve, and to like resent them and to hold it against them, and then be like, okay, well, that's where the curse of Eve came from. Like, no, that's not where it came from, because Eve was being manipulated, Lilith was being manipulated, Sadiqa was being manipulated. They were all being manipulated by the same general evil force or whatever. That doesn't make it any of their fault, no matter if they hurt each other. It's still the same thing that manipulated all of them.
Yeah. Let's pivot a little bit, because I feel like a lot of your okay, so I love how you participate online, like in online culture. Like you have your in your bio it says unfriendly, like hot unfriendly. What is
I'm
it?
an unfriendly black hottie, especially towards like cis white men. Like I can't. I'm like, leave me alone, please.
Where does that energy? You're very like open and vocal about like putting specifically cis black men in their place online, or just like in general. Where does that come from? And yeah, where does that come from? That's just where I'm at right now.
I think I was raised in like a matriarchy. Like I was raised by other women who were raised by other women who were like always very much like in charge of their lives and in charge of like the things that they needed to do. So like from I was like 5 years old, like there is not a man alive who can tell me what to do. And I'm like, I'm 5. Like I don't need to be 5 years old. Like I don't listen to any single man in the world. And my grandma's like, I think I created monsters with my sister and I specifically, because she like, it was drilled into us, and we were like, okay. And we like just absorbed it all. So now we're like, what'd you say? No. Like it's very like, yeah. And I think also part of it, I mean, you can get astrological, but like I have a lot of Scorpio in my chart. Like I have my Mars is in Scorpio, so it's very like it'll tumble, it'll flip, it'll go right, and I'm like, don't.
Wait, your Mars is in Scorpio? Okay, so this okay, ooh, Kimani, Mars just went into retrograde, and in Aries,
I know.
in Aries and Scorpio, those placements are going to be battling
Oh yeah, I know.
A couple of months.
I know. I'm already like, this is gonna be super fun, and I think I need to like put my phone on do not disturb and like stop talking to men in general, because I'm like, I think this is gonna get really bad.
I mean, I feel like as femmes, we've all been in that energy. I mean, I've literally been in energy. Like, if one man even fucking looks at me, I'm decking.
Like, it's done. It's over.
But something over time, you know, as a woman, as a femme, you know, you figure out like, oh, that energy is not helping anyone. It definitely ain't helping myself.
Right. It doesn't really do anything. It's satisfying, but it doesn't really do much.
I appreciate though that you seem to make a sport out of just like laying these niggas out and just like exposing them for the fuck shit and their fuck behavior.
Because it feels like I've done something. Because sometimes they listen, sometimes they don't. But like when they don't listen, I'm just like, well, I guess we unleash the Kraken and it'll be fun for everyone. But if they do listen, I'm like, okay, I'm glad you learned something. I'm glad you like figured this out, because masochists are drawn to me because of that energy. So it's like, keep yelling at me, keep yelling at me, keep putting me in my place. And I'm like, no.
Have you ever considered, okay, I'm just going off a little to the left. Have you ever considered like getting paid? Like if you want this energy, okay, cool.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I charge for it at this point, because I just don't educate people, or I don't educate cis men anymore without something. And I tell them that at the beginning. I'm like, I'm not going to tell you this or give you any information because you're on the internet. You're using the internet to talk to me, so you're on the internet. You'll be fine. Look it up. Or or you can pay me and I can teach you. And sometimes they're like, oh, you're just one of those gold digging ass cash at me bitches. And I'm like, that's fine. But do you want to learn or don't you? Because either you're going to go on your merry way and get cussed out by everybody, or you're going to learn something. So I don't know which one you want to do. Like, it's on you. And then like masochists, because like I've been paid just for people to cuss them out before, because they want me to yell at them. I'm like, y'all are masochists and y'all can do whatever you want to, but I don't do anything for a cis man that's not reciprocal in some way.
Respect. Where do you find home?
In my work, a lot of the time. Either in my work or in my friends, around like my sisters. Like when I'm around a lot of like, I saw this tweet that was like, I think it was just like a bunch of strippers like gassing each other up in a room, and they were like screaming, and I was like, oh my god, I miss this. This is what like the best thing in the world is. This is what love is. Like they're just screaming, and like I'm like, this level of loud, this level of like everything, that's what it is. I'm like, exactly that. Or like a really loud kitchen, or like shit like that. I'm like, everything like that's like home stuff. I like chaos, but I like a nurturing chaos. Like when we would have like parties at your house and we're all like screaming.
Yeah,
it's like that. I'm like, that's home. That's just like a nurturing like chaos.
I live for that shit. I try and build that environment as much as I could and as best I could. I love me a good ass party.
Oh yeah, it was so fun.
What are you searching for?
I guess understanding. Okay. I would describe it as understanding, because I think there's always just so much more to know. Like I've always been a reader. I've always been like a curious mind, and I've always been like, I don't understand why these things are happening. Like that's a lot of the reason why I interact with cis men the way that I do, because I am genuinely fascinated, because I don't understand why your brain works this way. Like I don't get how you made it this far. Like I am genuinely fascinated. So I want to know. And like they think I'm being mean to them, and I'm like, no, I'm just like, I'm real shocked. So I didn't understand this logic ever before in my life. So you're helping me see that this is still illogical, but I get it. Like I just want to understand. So when I write, I just want to understand. I want to understand how I feel. I want to understand how the world is. I want to understand all these other things. Just understanding, like Carly Dinner said, I'm just realizing things.
Okay. Where do you see yourself, like in the media or in stories, in music videos and books? Is there anywhere that you feel like you've seen yourself?
I see everything. I also kind of see myself as like a shadow. Like I see my work in places, but I don't necessarily see me in those places.
Wow.
Like I think that's just part of like me being introverted, and I'm like, I'm not gonna do anything. But like I want my work to be in these places. I want my art, my photography, all these things to be in these places, but I'm like, am I physically gonna be there? Hard pass. Like, probably not. Because I'm not doing it necessarily for that reason. I'm not doing it for it to be consumed by whiteness. So like if I go, I'm like, okay, y'all are just here to stare at me, and that's not what I'm here for. I'm not here to be stared at. This is about this. This is about the art. This is about the work. This is about the play. This is about the move. This is about whatever. This is about whatever this is. It's not about me. Okay. So that's why I'm like, it's there. I'm not though. I can chill. If I could be like anonymous, I probably would.
Wow.
Like,
I would never assume that about you, Kimani.
I know, isn't it interesting?
Yeah. But
I just feel weird about it. I just don't know if I would be like, because that's when I'm comfortable. That's why you're like, I can't even believe it. Because I'm like, that's when I'm comfortable. I'll do it. Like, and you can tell that I'm like a totally different. But like, I'm like, no. Okay. I'm good. I'm shy. I'm good. It's very like night and day. It's interesting.
Yeah, I wouldn't assume it, but it makes sense the way you describe it. I'm like, okay, that does make sense about Kimani. I like it. I like that. It seems like you really, it's an investment in the work. The work needs to be seen, not me. I like that perspective. Who's the first person, like on screen or in music or on a stage, that you really felt connected to? Or like in a movie or something?
Luther Vandross.
Really?
I know.
Okay.
I know. One of my very first memories, first of all, like I was obsessed with Luther Vandross. I was like 7 years old. Like, this is my song. Like, I love Luther Vandross, and I still do. But like, I was real into it when I was little, and I remember being like maybe 9 or 10, and it was like, I don't know how old I was actually. It was a couple years after his death. And like one of his songs like came on in a commercial, and I was just like overwhelmed. And I was like bawling my eyes out. My grandma was like, what is going on with you? And I was like, I just miss him so much. And my grandma was like, what is? So I think it's Luther Vandross, because I was so affected, and I loved like feeling loved in his music, and like I loved all of that stuff. So I was really sad, and now I'm like sad now, but like I was really emotional about it. Like I get emotional when I think about that moment, because like little me was like overwhelmed and devastated. It was the weirdest thing, and I know I terrified my grandma, because I just like burst into tears in like the middle of the room. I know.
Wow, Luther Vandross. I have like a little exclusive, like
I know.
closer
I
to
know, baby. Soft, baby.
When do you feel safe? When do you feel most safe?
Around my sisters. Like I love my friends. I love just around femmes. Like I just need to be around Black femmes that I'm good. Like when a grandma comes and like tells you on the street that your hair looks cute, and you're like,
right,
it's the best day of my life. You're like, oh my god, like really? Or like a grandma told me that she liked my mask. I was like, thanks. I was like, thank you. Like I just like those kind of things. Always super good.
You've talked a lot with me personally. I mean, not to divulge your sister's information.
Oh yeah.
Your sister being queer as well. What is it like growing up with a fellow queer sister? Like,
first of all, we totally knew. Both of us, my sister and I, just never said anything. We were just like, okay. And I didn't come out. I was outed.
Oh wow.
So it affected my sister coming out, because my sister didn't come out until like years and years after I did. But I got outed when I was in high school. So
who did you get outed by?
my grandmother's husband.
Oh wow.
So I live with I was raised, we were raised primarily by our grandparents, or by my grandmother and her husband, and he was the worst, but like man, you can only ask for so much of them. So it was rough and horrible, but when I was 15, I was super excited because my best friend had just started dating her girlfriend, and I was like lit because I'd done so much work to like get them to admit their feelings to each other. So I was like, hi. And he was like, why are you so excited about it? It's not like you're. And I was like, well, and he was like, oh, you are, that's funny. And then like 2 hours later, we were like at dinner, and he was like, hey, to my grandma, guess what, did you know, blah blah blah. And I was like,
Wow.
okay, cool. So, and like my grandma and my sister were like, okay, whatever, like no reaction, we love you anyway, no big deal, like not a big deal. But I was like, that's my business. So I just didn't say anything. And my sister being queer, I think it affected her. My outing affected her a lot because she just saw me like shut down and knew how badly like I would have wanted to say it by myself. So she waited so long, I think, to come to terms with her own stuff because of that.
Wow.
But we both knew. Like, it was so like, because we were both so like, I don't know, fluid and like open with everything, that we were just like, we don't care about who we date. So we're like, it doesn't matter. So that's when we were like, oh, that probably means these other things. Like, it probably means queerness if we don't care. But
when's the first time that you realized you were Black?
In a good way or a bad way?
Whichever way feels beautiful or disastrous to tell. It's up to you.
I guess I can tell both. The first time I felt or realized I was Black in a good way was when I saw my grandmother's natural hair for the first time.
Oh.
And I think I was 5. And her curl pattern is not my curl pattern, but her hair was usually straight. And she would get those like Brazilian blowouts and stuff. And so I didn't really see her natural hair that often. And one day she was like, we always, like, my grandma's all very bougie. So we had these very long skin and bath routines that were like huge. And like, we just hang out with my grandma while she's like painting her nails and stuff. It's always very like those kinds of energies. And I remember my grandma had just washed her hair, and I forgot, like something in my brain like forgot that my grandmother knew how to wash her own hair. Like, because I was so used to like going to the hair salon with my grandma that I like forgot that my grandmother had to wash her own hair at one point. So she took the towel off of her head, and like her hair was natural. And I was like, wow, your hair's really pretty. And she was like, yeah, it's pretty like your hair. And I was like, oh.
Oh, wow.
Cool. Because I was just like, I totally forgot that like her hair could do that. And I was like, wow, that's so like magical that like we're going tomorrow and her hair is gonna look completely different.
That's beautiful.
So I was like maybe 5 then. In a bad way, when I was 6. And this other 6-year-old white monster child called me the hard R and to my face. And this is when I had a Black teacher. Like, my first grade teacher was Black, so she was like, and I was like, just like, we were both like, and I'm a baby, I'm 6, so I just start crying, and she's like, oh my God. And like, parents were called, and it was like a whole situation. And my grandma almost beat this little boy's mom like up.
For real? How the fuck does a child know that word at physics?
Exactly. So, because like the principal was really trying to defuse the situation, because like they knew my grandma was bougie, and they knew like this is a little mountain town in Colorado, and my sister and I are the only Black children. Like, this is not the woman to mess with. And here we are with the littlest one that has like separation anxiety and cries every 20 minutes, is like in the office for an actual situation. So my grandma comes in and she's furious. This is actually the funniest part of the situation, because I'm like, my grandma's gonna fuck y'all up. Like, I knew it. Like, I felt it in my bones that I was like, my girl's gonna fuck y'all up. This school is going down. Like, I'm done. And so she comes in, she's heated. Like, she's so mad. And I'm like, y'all motherfuckers is going down. And his parents are there. And they're like trying to explain that like they knew where he got this shit from. And my grandma's like, I'm not a fucking idiot. Like, I'm not a fucking idiot. She was like, listen,
Baby,
I'm a grown ass person.
yeah. They don't just come up.
She's like, no, 6-year-olds don't just like magically stumble upon this shit. So which one of you motherfuckers says it in real life all the time? Because I'm sitting, so she's screaming at them. The principal's like out at this point. Yeah. She screams at them. He gets suspended for like a week. I go back to life. I don't have to go to school for the rest of the day, but come back the next day and I'm like, I'm fine now. Like, we're good. Trauma averted. So he was gone for a week, and then he came back a week later with like a shitty apology note in his hand, and I was like, and I put it in my backpack, and then when I came home, I gave it to my grandmother, and she was like, "Do you not want this?" And I was like, "No, I don't care about this child's apology." And then they like moved into a different class because I was like, I refuse to be near him. Like, yeah. So, and then I didn't see him again until the 5th grade. And he asked me out, and I was like,
he asked you out in the 5th grade?
Yeah.
Oh, what the
yeah, and then he asked me to give him a blowjob behind the like school, and I was like.
So not only have you experienced racism from this child, but you've also experienced misogyny.
I was like, what? I know I got boobs like relatively first, but we need to all relax. Here, we need to all chill out. We are but 11. Like, chill your shit. Like, ooh, yeah. So that was that mess.
When's the first time you realized you were queer?
Around the same time. So I was like 6 or 7. My grandma was braiding our hair, and my grandma loved old movies. So we would watch like super old movies, and she wanted to watch Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Oh, I love that movie.
Me too. I love that movie. Love Jessica Rabbit. Shout out to my girl.
Yeah.
Yes. So that was that. That was one of my very first like.
And she's
that was my favorite song. I like watched the clip all the time because I was like, I don't understand what I'm feeling. Like, I loved Jessica Rabbit. Loved Jessica Rabbit. So that was that. Or it was like, what was the other one? Max's Girlfriend, an extremely goofy movie.
Mm-hmm. She's hot.
I was like,
wow, so you had
or the Poetry Girl.
Cartoons.
I know, these cartoons are so like sexualized, whatever. But the Poetry Girl too, I wanted to be her.
Oh, with the little beret.
Yeah, with the beret, and she was like, I loved her, I wanted to be her. So yeah, those were the ones.
That's dope. That's so dope.
They're really indicative to my personality at this point too. Like, it really just makes sense.
I can see both. I can see you as Jessica Rabbit, and I can see you as Max's girlfriend. Like that.
Yeah. Just, I was like, yes. And she was so down. She was just like, and then she's like, I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way. I'm like, I get it, sister. I'm like, preaching to the choir, yes, sis. I'm like 9. I'm like, yes, sis, I get it. We all born bad bitches. It's not our fault.
What would you say to your 12-year-old self if you could go back and talk to her?
Calm down. It's okay. Like, calm down. Like, calm down. I was so anxious. Like, just calm down. Just relax. Like, I know, but like, just relax. And like, people will believe you eventually, and that sucks. But like, eventually is the word that sucks. But it actually happens. So just calm down. It's gonna be okay. Just calm down.
What was the source of your anxiety, if you don't mind?
My grandma's husband. So anxiety ridden around him all the time. And since we lived with him, I was just like terrified, like all the time. And he was so horrible that I was just like always prepared for the next horrible thing. So I was so anxious all the time. Yeah.
What do you want to hear from your 60-year-old self?
It worked.
Say that again.
It worked.
It worked. Okay.
That's all. She's got to be like, it worked. And I'm like, cool.
And
That's all I need to know is that it works. That it all worked and we're good. Or you're right. You were right. And I'm like, I knew that shit. Like, I knew that shit. Because that's also a thing that I would tell myself when I was little. Like, you were right. And it's okay. Like, you were right. I know you don't think you're right, but you're right. And be in that. Like, know that you're right. And it's okay. Because now I know I'm right. But if 6-year-old me came in the room and was like, you're right, I would be like, fucking knew it. Like, because I knew it. Like, you know. Like, trust yourself. Like, when you know, you know. So just know.
Okay. How do you experience love? It could be from yourself, from your community, or from the world.
I experience love, I guess I'll do all of those ones. With myself, I try not to deny myself anything.
Oh.
Which is like, it seems like a slippery slope of things, but it's like, I have a Taurus moon, so I'm very comfy.
Yes, Taurus.
So I'm like, if I want to buy a pastel sweatsuit, I'm gonna buy a pastel sweatsuit because I deserve comfort and to be cute. Like, if I can do, like, I buy myself a present every month.
Oh.
I don't go on diets because I don't feel like restricting myself. Like, I do the things that are healthy and good because they are healthy and good, not because I'm restricting myself from anything. So that's how I love myself. It's like, I give myself the best of the things that I want.
That's beautiful, Kimani. I love that.
From others, like from my community, I think I receive love the best. I don't know. From my community, I just love being loved on. I love words of affirmation. I'm just like a little baby, like just do anything nice for me, and I'm like, wow, like love. Like, it's just like, I'm very easy because love is literally anything and anywhere. Like, as long as the intention is to do something like loving and nice for someone, then it's fine. Like, I don't care otherwise. And I think about that in the world kind of way too.
Okay. Can you tell us about, we talked a little bit about your writing. Oh, just a backstory for everyone that's here listening. This year, the end of last year, this year, I went to Paris, and I made it to the Palace of Versailles, and I had these beautiful, beautiful, beautiful grape earrings that just matched the whole fucking vibe of that entire palace. And those earrings are made by none other than you. And I just remember sitting in this room amongst like all this. I'll just tell you my experience. I don't think I've told you the story, but
no,
there's this room in the Palace of Versailles where it's just like portrait after portrait after portrait of different years of white men in battle on horses, and they're just like fucking slaughtering everything. I was like, oh, I fucking hate this. This is horrible. Like, these white, like, we're glorifying colonialism and violence and white male privilege and all this shit. And I'm sitting there and I'm taking a selfie, and all of a sudden I see your earrings. And I go, this is what is important. That that me in this moment, but also these earrings that were made by a Black femme who I fuck with and I respect, made these earrings in this space where I'm traditionally not even welcomed. And I remember looking at taking a picture of the earrings and be like, Kimani, your earrings made it to the Palace of Versailles, boo. Like,
I know, and I was like, oh my god. I literally like sent it. I was like, look at this picture. Like, look, like my friend's in Paris and she's wearing my earrings. Like, I was so excited because it was just like beautiful. I didn't ever think about that. Like, because I just don't, I'm bad at this. I just don't think about that kind of, like, I just don't think that far ahead with my stuff a lot of the time. I really need to get better at that, to think like further, because I'm like, I just would have never even thought about that. Like, yeah, I bring my earrings when I travel. I just didn't think that people would like my earrings enough to bring them when they travel. Like, I just don't think that far ahead. Like, but it was really exciting.
What's the inspiration behind Kimani Rose creations? Because I love your pieces. They're very simple, they're very elegant, and they're loud but also subtle at the same time. That's like they're in between the two. I really like them.
I like making things that I like, which like I like, which is like easy, but like I make things that I think are fun to make. Like I made the grapes originally because I was going to an FKA Twigs concert, so I created the Garden of Eden on my head with my natural hair out, and I like created the Garden of Eden in my hair, and then I made grape earrings, and I was like, oh, this is fun. This was fun to make. Let's make more of these and see what I like. And then I love Michaels, so I was just like walk through the aisles of Michaels and be like, oh, this is cool. I can make this, or like I can make this. And it started at a time where I missed doing things with my hands, because I used to make my little chapbooks with my hands, and I still do. And like now my poetry collections have gotten longer, so I can't make them all by hand anymore. So that's become something I don't do by hand as much. So I miss doing things with my hands. And then I was like, I kind of miss having my sewing machine around. And then I was like, well, let me do something in between, because when I start sewing, it just like consumes my whole life. So I'm like, let me do something in between the two things and like make something else. And I was like, oh, I make earrings. Let's make earrings. I used to make earrings. I used to make candles. I used to make pillows. Like I know how to make a lot of weird shit. So I'm like, I just picked something that I like to make and that it's fun to do, and like I just needed to do something with my hands again.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you for those earrings. They're so beautiful. I still have the lilac ones too that I like to wear.
Yes. I mean, I have so many. Like, and I'm trying to figure out these gummy bear necklaces at this point. Necklaces are hard. But I'm trying to make chokers because I don't want to wear like
a gummy bear choker?
Yeah, it says "Eat the Rich" on it. Yeah. With the gummy bears. But I'm trying to figure out how to do it. Like it's gonna be like kind of 90s looking, but I'm trying to figure out how to do it. Yeah.
You'll figure it out. Where can people buy your earrings? What page can they follow, and where can they buy your earrings?
Okay, so if you want to see like my earrings and stuff, that's on KimaniRoseCreations.com, and that's also what the Instagram is. And then any of my writing stuff is just Kimani Rose.
Okay. Nice, nice. This is my last question, my dear. If you could, would you change your identity? And I'm extending this question to not just like, okay, black to white or this or that, but like, yeah, you dragon or an octopus or like a nebula, like, would you do that?
Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think I would go back to one of my previous forms, which I like to call it. Like, I think I would just go back to one of those because they're probably cooler with it.
So, do you know what one of those forms are?
Probably like the Venetian, like the planet of Venus, like the Venetian, I guess it's like a priestess.
Okay.
She wears like these like robes. It's like this it's like I don't know. She's like a bard.
Okay.
Would be like the equivalent of it. She's kind of like a bard. But yeah. Okay. Venetian bard.
Is there anything else that I didn't ask that you would really like to express in this moment?
I guess, one thing. I describe myself as femme. I also describe myself as a siren.
Okay.
So I do both, but I remember just now that I also describe myself as a siren. So.
Tell me about being a siren. I know it's like, it's a sirena, a mermaid.
Yeah.
Where's the source of that?
Usually because the things I guess in this particular span of my life, the truth that has come out of my mouth has been like both the boat going towards the rocks and the rock crashing the boat, you know? Yeah. Like there's like a I don't know, there's like a sweetness to it that like draws you in, and then you get to the truth, and then like, you you have to be able to face it or you're gonna like go down.
Wow, Kimani.
That's how I feel about
Good. All right. Is there anything else, my dear?
No, thank you for this. This was
Thank you
fun.
so much. I appreciate all of you. I'm looking forward to all the stuff that you got coming out.
I'm excited. It's gonna be exciting.
All right, I'm gonna stop the recording.